What is going on, everybody, on here? And tonight we are not going to talk about how the upside for Destined Rivals, in my opinion, is less than the upside for Perfect Order the next year. We're going to talk about market psychology, price expectation, and price memory, and how that changes over time. And this is a really, really interesting time, especially with the specialty sets in Pokemon, because we can see this happening real time. And then I'm going to walk through a couple other items, a couple magic items, because we're seeing the exact same thing happen. And part of what I've been trying to do with the last couple videos is just get people to understand that just because something is better than something else doesn't mean that it's going to perform better in the short term or the long term. Now, this is not a video about supply and demand imbalances or anything like that. This is just simply market psychology and how people's expectations change over time. So what we have here was I pulled all of the specialty sets for the last couple of years. Crown Zenith 151, Paldean Fates, Prismatic Evolutions, and Ascent Heroes. Release date here just for your reference. The expected value of the set, which quite honestly, I don't think means a damn thing, although we can see that the sets are getting better. They're becoming more valuable. So theoretically, that means that the right side of these charts should increase significantly. So then I have the Elite Trainer Box price and the Booster Bundle price. So one thing I want to mention just before we start. So Crown Zenith in December of 2024. Crown Zenith was everywhere. There were Sea and Sky boxes all over the place. You could buy loose packs for broken down Sea and Sky boxes for $3.25 to $3.75. Everybody thought it was garbage. Everybody thought it was trash. And this was really right at the trough of the bear market turning into the bull market. Now, again, December 2024, the bear market was the bull market was well underway. However, again, the supply of Crown Zenith was all over the place. So as we saw, I think February, March of 2025 was the last gasp of all the Sea and Sky boxes hitting Sam's Club. And then things started to dry up. And obviously, the rip and ship world loves Crown Zenith, and a lot of the packs just got shredded and disappeared. So back then, I think it was Target. I think it was Target. You could get ETBs for $30 for Crown Zenith, $40 worst case, the end of 2024. Booster bundles. I remember one of the conversations that we had, and this was like September 2024, there was one last reprint of booster bundles of Crown Zenith. But we're trying to see how much we could get. We didn't end up getting a whole heck of a lot. But I think distro price was like $16 for a booster bundle. And they came out, and I think the price at the time was like $35 for a booster bundle. Not really crazy, but Crown Zenith really kind of set off the first domino to changing the market's perception of these specialty sets, whether it's a high class set or 151, whatever you want to call it. These, in I think everybody's general opinion, are the specialty sets for year end. Now I'm not counting Shroud of Fable in here. There's just really no point. And I didn't go all the way back to Celebrations because, again, really no point with that one either. So what we see, and this is today, and obviously we are a little bit over a year later, 15 months later, the ETBs are now at $320, and the booster bundles are at $178. I think the packs are pushing $20, $21, $22 for Crown Zenith. And that's kind of the world that we're in right now. Now, what that did is it obviously had an impact on 151. 151 was sitting on the shelves forever. So as things started to tighten up, 151 started to move up. And I remember, for those of you who recall, in the spring and summer of 2025, just this past year, Walmart / MJ Holdings / GT Collectibles, they were selling what seemed like an infinite amount of 151 booster bundles for $49, $49.99. And then they were like $55 or $54.99. And they just sat there for days on end. And I remember buying them, and A lot of people complained because they weren't shrink wrapped on the outside of the case, but they were on the inside of the case, or the individual bundles were, I should say. But the product just kept coming and coming and coming until it didn't. We didn't get ETBs in 2025, so these started to be off to the races, and ETBs hit 200, 250, 300, and then all of a sudden, as we go into the rotation out, our ETBs are at $650 for 151, and the booster bundles are at 193, and these have moved up pretty substantially. And part of what this is doing, this is also pulling the Crown Zenith with it. It's also pulling Paldean Fates with it. Obviously, Paldean Fates 151 are rotating out at the same time here in less than a month, call it 3 weeks. So they're basically done, barring any unforeseen dumping, which I've heard nothing. We've gotten some 151 mini tins. No Paldean Fates since the bundles a couple months ago, and then the Great Tusky X boxes. But now we have Paldean Fates ETBs at 360. Now, the Paldean Fates ETBs, I believe there was a point where they were actually trading a little bit higher than 151. I think there were some targeted buyouts there because they were much more difficult to come by. So now we have Crown Zenith and Paldean Fates getting drug along by 151, which I think, generally speaking, if anybody had their choice across those 3 sets, they're going to buy 151, or they're going to pick 151 anyway around it. So that's kind of the lead dog here. So let's fast forward to what we've seen with Prismatic Evolutions. So Prismatic Evolutions came out, pre-release, the ETBs were $150, pushed all the way down to 110. Everything came out in one wave, and I think that's very important because with Ascended Heroes, we had 2 different waves of ETBs. So we had the ability for stores to sell off a portion of the first, get their basis back, hold that back, the market stabilized, and then we had the second wave come in, and something similar happened. Now, we obviously had a lot of ETBs sold through Walmart, but the demand at this point and the number of participants in the market is exponentially higher than what it was in January of 2025 when Prismatic Evolutions came out. And I think the ETBs did come out with the initial release. Obviously, they didn't for Ascended Heroes. It came out a couple weeks later. So in addition to all the product for Prismatic Evolutions coming out, we also had all the big box drops, and then Target and Walmart. We haven't gotten any big box drops of Ascended Heroes yet. It's probably a little bit too early in the lifespan of the product. I would expect us to start seeing them in May, maybe even late April, May, June, your Sam's Club, hopefully Costco, at that point in time. But the ETBs hit a low of like $90 and it just kissed it for like a second. And then they bounced right back up to 100, 110. And they sat there for almost a year. And then all of a sudden, the last month or 2, with 151, Paldean Fates and Crown Zenith pushing up, 2 of the 3 of those going through rotation. Obviously, Crown Zenith has rotated out a year ago. Now it's dragging Prismatic Evolutions along for the ride. So people are saying, well, holy shit, Paldean Fates ETBs are 360. 151 ETBs are 650. There's no reason why these ETBs should be 140. We're going to buy them because these ETBs are going to be $360 or higher a year from now. Because look at the lesser of the 2 sets is at 360. The greater one's best case, say the 200's at 650. Holy shit. I know where this is going. I've seen this movie before. And that's why we have the little arrow here and then the little arrow up here in the short term. And then we have the same with the bundles. Now, there have been restock after restock of bundles coming to the market. For those of you who don't know, we got a large restock of 151 booster bundles February of 2025. We just got another restock of booster bundles. This is through distribution, and obviously it's gone through the big box stores as well in February, March of 2026. So it is kind of congruent here. It's going to be interesting to see if we get poster collections or whatever in May, June, because that's what we got last year for 151. So it'll be interesting to see if we see those for Prismatic or if they print something else. So what this is effectively doing with Prismatic is it's now creating a new level of price member where people are looking at Ascended Heroes ETBs and saying $100, $110. Like in Prismatic Evolutions is $200. I can double my money plus all you have to do is buy these and sit on them. And now we're getting all of this demand into the market that's eating up the ETBs. And quite honestly, there aren't that many ETBs in the market. And I would be shocked if the ETBs for Senate aren't hitting it. They're not pushing $150 by the end of March. Now we could get another massive supply of these from distribution. That would be something that we hadn't seen in a while. We did get a decent sized second wave of Prismatic last year. But again, we got everything at one time. It inundated the market and nobody knew what to expect. So 151 was in the process of taking off, but hadn't taken off yet. The same with Paldean Fates. Now we see those two have taken off. Crown Zenith has taken off. Ascended Heroes is taking off, or Ascended Heroes, Prismatic Evolutions is taking off to mirror what they did. Now people are looking at Ascended Heroes and looking at these last 4 sets and saying, well, I know exactly what this is going to do. So why would I not buy it at $100 if I know it's going to be $200 to $360 in a year? I'm going to buy the shit out of it and I'm going to sit on it because it is an easy 2x. And that is the mindset of the market where last year people didn't know. The year before, people certainly didn't know. And the year before that, people didn't care as we go back to 2024 and before. So we can see the same thing now. The booster bundles obviously haven't come out yet for Ascended Heroes, but I would be shocked if the booster bundles are materially less than the $73 that Prismatic is right now. And I would argue that Prismatic Evolution sealed product is probably a little too cheap right now because, I think some of those dollars are looking at Ascended Heroes and they're transferring to Ascended Heroes. So that's a long-winded way of saying that there was no price expectation for Crown Zenith. It was junk. It was everywhere. And then all of a sudden it started moving. And it started moving with 151. And 151, all of a sudden, everybody knew it was a great set. But as we got closer and closer to rotation out, and the size and scale of the reprints from distribution got smaller and smaller, there was more confidence in the product that was going to move up. And as we know with Pokemon, selling creates selling, buying creates buying. And as 151 moved up, now all of a sudden, the price expectation for Paldean Fates moved up. And Paldean Fates moved up. Now all of a sudden, if I have a $650 ETB of 151 that was 400, why the hell are the ETBs for Prismatic Evolutions, which for all intents and purposes is, you could argue, is a better set than 151 value-wise. Whether the opening experience is better or not, that's a different conversation. So now all of a sudden, it's like, hey, if I know these are going to go to $300, $400, $500, and again, this is not my opinion. This is a general market perception. Why would I not buy these up to 200, probably 300? I'd be shocked if Prismatic ETBs aren't pushing $300 in the next couple months. And then now Ascended Heroes, you have a new set that came out. Some people think it's better than Prismatic. Some people don't. But either way, the opening experience is better. You have a bunch of IRs. You have the Chase Gengar, which is tough to hit, and there's a ton of value. And you have a much larger audience and much larger demand for the product than you have today. So this $122, I would be shocked if it's not pushing 150 to 200 here relatively shortly, because the price expectations of where the CTB is going to go in a year has moved from MSRP for Prismatic to $200. And it's really happened because of the price behavior of the last 4 sets. And now we have data points that people are paying attention to. So that being said, let's move on to the next point here. Oops. So again, I just had this up for price points, but getting back into this, and this is a little bit different. So this is we know what's going to happen. There is a price expectation in the market. The time to buy any of these products, if you want them, it is when there's the maximum amount of supply in the market, which is effectively right as the market's getting dumped on with a reprint, or it is a new release of a SKU that has a product in that you want. EX boxes, for example. So here's the Salamancer restaurant, and I've talked about this a couple times. And this is a perfect chart. So this came out, everybody and their brother dumped it all the way down. I mean, it was sub $40 at one point in time. And then it dried up and everything moved back up. And yeah, $80, $8 a pack. There's 5 deaths and there's 5 surging. I know everybody's lukewarm on surging. Surging is probably the second best set in the era. Could be the third best set in the era, but either way, there's just a lot of product of that out there. At some point, people are going to want it again. Destiny Rivals people are always going to want. So these boxes are fantastic. And again, the time to buy is when everybody was selling them, because the price to buy these was like $32 from distribution. You could sell them for 60, make it quick, 40%. You do it 100% of the time if you're a store who's churning inventory and you're not super capitalized. So moving on, we're going to talk Magic for a second. I'm going to try to keep this one short. Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings just reprinted. And as we can see here, it was dead money for a while. And keep in mind, distribution price is between $140 and $160, depending on where you're buying at one point in time. As the market started to dry up, it went straight up. It went up to $300 and some. So as this set continues to age and gets closer and closer to what the entire world thinks is going to be rotation out now, there are no rules with WotC or Hasbro. They can reprint stuff at any point in time. We don't know where they're going to draw the line. We do know that this set came out in, I believe, June of 2023. So it is getting close to 3 years old. Now, it's not standard. It doesn't rotate per se. But the market came out and dumped approximately 50,000 units. My math, just based on my best guess. And look at the volumes. The volumes just in the last month are absolutely through the roof, because everybody is taking the opportunity to take this influx of supply in the market and buy these and put them away. Because if this doesn't get reprinted, these are probably $500 to $1,000 commander decks in the next year or two. And we also have The Hobbit coming out in August. I think it's August. So you're going to have a whole new influx of folks from Lord of the Rings who have interest in this that are going to want to buy it. So now's the time to buy it. And what's pretty remarkable is I think this dropped as low as 180, and it just got bought right back up. And in the next week or two, it's going to be back at 250. Yeah, this one little wall of supply here, 95. If I was that person, I'd take the price up to 250. But this is what we see every single time. And that $300 price point is what everybody has in mind when they're buying these at 180, at 190, at $200. If I buy this for $200, I'm going to make 50% on this in less than a year, because that price point is the only thing that's ingrained in people's minds. They're not going to pay any attention to the fact that before it ran up, this product was sitting at $160 for 2 years. Didn't do a goddamn thing because there was more than enough on the market. They reprinted it, and it wasn't churning because it was the dead period where there wasn't a whole lot of interest for Lord of the Rings. Going back to Pokemon, Twilight Masquerade, the boxes are pushing $330, $350. I've said my piece on this a ton. This graph isn't working. But at $800 for a case of ETBs, let me go back to the regular ETB. It's a little bit easier to show a graph on this. This got a pretty heavy reprint. I think a little bit heavier than what everybody thought, because there weren't a whole lot of cases that came out to market. Came up, we're at $100. It got smashed down with supply. Now it's starting to move up again. These ETBs, as this moves toward rotation a year from now, they're going to be pushing probably $160 next year at this time, because the boxes are going to be $500, $600, unless we get a massive reprint of everything, which at this point, for SV5 through SV8, is 5 through 8? Yeah, 5 through 8, 8.5, which is prismatic. I don't see it happening. I really don't. The market doesn't really need it. The market couldn't really take a big reprint. No, obviously they're gonna continue to reprint prismatic, but I think for most I think these are safe. I really do. So again, the world had a prime opportunity for months to accumulate these at $60, and they're going to 160. And that's just what happens. So I'm going to end on two other Magic products because, again, price, memory, and market expectations. So this is Bloomburrow Play. So back here, we got a reprint in June-ish of 2025. Now, the boxes hadn't moved up at that point in time. But we got a reprint here. And then as it dried up, the boxes went up. Now everybody looks at these boxes at $190 or $200. The reprint came in. Let me just look at the chart here. So it came in, bottomed right around $130. Remember, distribution price on these is $117, $122, depending. And it got bought, and it's starting to move up. And everybody in the world knows that given a long enough period of time with this, it's probably 3 months, probably 4 months, it's going right back here. So you can buy these at 140. It's going back to 200, your 40% return just in the next couple months. And that's how all of these products work. And the problem is when products go up, people get interested. When products get reprinted and get smashed, people panic and they want to sell. And that is exactly the opposite of how you need to think in this industry, and especially in this market. Same thing here. Foundations. We just got this reprint. I just got all of my reprint boxes in this week, in the end of last week. Now, this box is a little bit less expensive because it is technically a core set, if you will. So the price of these is between 108 and call it 114. I think One Stripper was a little bit higher, but it's kind of whatever. So at $122, look at this. It was up at 145, and we got a small reprint. And it was at 120, 130 forever, which is basically break even after fees. And then it started to dry up, and it moved up, and it moved up. With Magic products, when things dry up, there's still demand. The demand doesn't go to zero, and then things become parabolic until the liquidity, the bid ask, it disappears because there's no supply or nobody wants to pay stupid prices for it. So here, $190 off something that's going to cost you, say, $110 from distribution, $122 in the market now. It got completely smashed, but the same thing. Look at the volume here. This is the highest amount of products sold in the last year. And it's only 200 boxes, but again, we are just now hitting the bottom of the dump. So there's probably a 3 to 4 week time period where if you wanted to buy it, it's going to sit here at the bottom. It's going to churn, and then it's going to start to move right back up. The last thing I want to mention here with Bloomburrow, we see the reprint here. We see volumes that we haven't seen in a year. Probably haven't seen this level of volume since pre-release because people are now looking at Bloomburrow. And they're saying, okay, well, this came out summer of 2024. We're getting close to summer of 2026. Maybe there's another reprint of it coming at some point in time. We don't really know, but it's starting to get safe because if people were willing to pay $190 to $200 for this before, yeah, if you liked it at $200, you'll love it at $140. So when I talk about being contrarian, it's really not hating things that people enjoy or people love or loving things that people hate, although that is part of it. It's really when the world is panicking and dumping product, looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, in 3 or 4 months, where do I expect this product to be? Because we have a large market imbalance right now. Just throw the efficient market hypothesis out the window. We have a ton of supply, and we have a fixed amount of demand for this stuff. So the demand's going to step up because the price comes down, but it is not a perfect one-for-one match where everything gets snapped up right away. Now, with Lord of the Rings Commander, it looks like it's pretty damn close to a one-to-one match because everybody in the world thinks it's going to be the last reprint. I don't know. I don't profess to know. But it's going to be the same thing with Lord of the Rings set boxes, with Ixalan set boxes. God forbid they unban Mana Crypt. Those things are really going to fly. And it's going to be the same with Wilds of Eldraine set boxes. And then we get Wilds of Eldraine Commander decks. We haven't gotten those in forever. We're going to get another reprint of Fallout. Fallout is like $300 and some for a display. The same thing is going to happen because everybody and their brother is going to be like, okay, well, I can buy these cheaper. They're going to dry up. It's most likely going to be the last reprint, which is the famous last words. I'm sure multiple people have said that multiple times. And then you're going to get the new season next year for Amazon coming out. And then it's going to be in the hype cycle all over again. So these are the things that you guys should pay attention to. And again, getting back to the basics of the start of this conversation, the price expectations on Ascended Heroes are equal to what they are for Prismatic Evolutions and greater to what they were for Prismatic Evolutions a year ago when Prismatic was at the same spot in the release cycle. And yeah, it doesn't rotate out until 2028, because it is the last set of the 2028 rotation. So you do get a year, 6 months with the new facility up and running, theoretically. But what we saw with 151 and Paldean Fates, and what we're going to see this year with Prismatic Evolutions, is the first year there's a super heavy reprint. The second year, it starts with a bang, and then it really starts to slow off or to slow down because they're printing 30th anniversary. They're printing all this other stuff. They're printing the shit out of Ascended Heroes. So take the opportunity to understand where the market's going and where the overall player, collector, investor community thinks the market's going, because that's where it's going to go, barring some dramatic change in market psychology, which quite honestly, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Oil, the economy, war, none of that has any impact on this, because these are things that people do as a vice to get away. I hate to say it, but it's like cigarettes and alcohol. If the world is burning, those are the things that people give a shit about because it makes them feel good. So anyway, guys, hope this was interesting. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Have a good night.